alaikum, everybody. Welcome to another Quran study today. Today I'll be reading from Surah 29, verse 55. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. 55. The day will come when the retribution overwhelms them from above them and from beneath their feet. He will say, taste the consequences of your works. 56. Immigrate in the cause of God. O my servants who believe, my earth is spacious, so worship me. Every soul will taste death, and to us you will be ultimately returned. Sorry about that. So 55 is talking about, just is this discussing the consequences of the people who end up not making it, who end up in hell. And so the retribution will come to them from all directions. It's kind of unimaginable, but it's going to come to them from every angle. So it's only you can only use your imagination to kind of visualize how bad it's going to be. And so God will tell these people that it's taste the consequences of your works, because there's a lot of people that they'll quickly agree, and they don't have a problem in believing that they don't have any problem believing that in this world that you have consequences for your works. They'll be quick to say, yeah, of course, if you do something bad or you do something evil, you're gonna get reprimanded at your job, or you're gonna get reprimanded by the court system or something. They'll quickly agree to that. But if you start talking about the next life, a lot of them will don't want to hear it. So but I mean, we're given examples and parallels in this life, so for people to have an idea that the next life works the exact same way, except it's more intense on either side of the fence. So and it's the real life, So that's what people should be working towards, to advance themselves. Or there's a lot of people. Some people regress themselves, as the Quran tells us. And for verse 56, something else that it's in another part of the Quran, how it says how the angels will ask those who disbelieve, what was the matter with you? Was my earth not spacious enough? So people won't have any excuse, because these people will say, oh, we were persecuted, or this and that. We were persecuted, or however I'm paraphrasing the verse, but that's not going to be an excuse, because God's earth is just spacious. So if you live in a country or a place that makes it hard for you to worship God alone or practice your religion, then there's plenty of other spaces and areas to move to. And so if you're really sincere or serious about it, God will help you, immigrate from, let's say, one country to another country. So every soul will taste death, and then to us you will ultimately be returned. So this is a fact of life, and this is definitely going to happen. And a lot of people they bear witness to the fact of death, but little do they give thought to the consequences after death, for good or for bad. So they just kind of go through this life blundering, without any thought given to what's after death. And it's just unfortunate, but I mean we have messages from God that can lead us, lead people in the right path, and to set the priorities straight on the stuff that really matters. And as we're told in verse 58, it says, "Those who believe and lead a righteous life, we will surely settle them in paradise with mansions and flowing streams. Eternally they abide therein. What a beautiful reward for the workers. They're the ones who steadfastly persevere and trust in their Lord." So this is something to look forward to. This is hope we have to look forward to in the hereafter. And it's a reward for those who work hard and do their very best in following God's path, observing the rights of their religion, following what God tells us to, and not because and it's really not even because we have to. It's because we want to, because naturally we know this stuff brings happiness. Like if you take all the right actions when with the way you live in a righteous life or following God's commandments. You naturally find that this all your problems go away. You're not going to have marital problems. If you're keeping God's law. Because that's a huge problem in this country, and I mean even in this world. So many people are broken people, or broken marriages, and with all types of issues, just because they deviate knowingly or unknowingly, and they turn to these other things, or to money or this and that. To people, or they have all these false idols that they think they can bring them happiness and stuff, but they don't. It'll never work, And we can see the evidence around us. So this is your paradise or your heaven can start here for those who believe and lead a righteous life, because these leading righteous life and doing the good deeds and living the good life. Will bring you happiness in this world, and then continues on in the next life, after you pass all your required tests. May God help us and make it easy. And it's for those who steadfastly persevere. So when hard times come, the ones who stick, who don't give up or throw in the towel despite what life throws at them or despite the circumstances, and they trust in their Lord. They don't turn away. And I mean, I know sometimes it can, all odds, like we've had things happen in our lives and stuff where it can look kind of tricky, but we still have to remember that, we can tell, or what I can tell myself is, regardless of what happens, all that matters is God and worshiping Him, because this life is so quick. It comes and goes so quick. So there's really nothing worth losing your happiness over or your belief over. May God make that help us improve and make things easier for us. 60, many a creature that does not carry its provision, God provides for it as well as for you. He is the hearer, the omniscient. So every creature that we see, God provides for it. It's not us that feeds the birds. It's or the animals or even the plants. How they get their photosynthesis. Get their photosynthesis and these other biological processes. From the sun, from the rain, and all of that works together. It's God that provides for it. Like if I'm feeding a pigeon or something, some seeds or throwing some food out for a crow or something. I'm not even doing that. That's God. that's actually, even though I think I am, I mean, I don't think I am, but it's God that's providing for it, because we also have in the Quran that all the earths, like all the calculations of provisions and stuff, have been calculated by God. So what everybody's gonna get, what a specific bird on a specific continent in a specific country or state or city is gonna eat, all of that's been calculated. And same thing for every human being. Same thing for animals, rodents, and all of that. So this is just one facet to look at God and appreciate His power. That this stuff is so easy for Him to do, and He's the best provider. If we had to try to provide for these creatures, we couldn't do it. It would end up just dying off or something. Even for ourselves. Oops. So verse 61, most believers destined for hell. If you ask them who created the heavens and the earth and put the sun and the moon in your service, they will say God. Why then did they deviate? God is the one who increases the provision for whomever He chooses from among His creatures and withholds it. God is fully aware of all things. So yeah, this is you see this a lot with a lot of people, and this could be, you could be a believer from any religion, you could be from Christianity or Judaism, and bear witness that God is the one who created the heavens and the earth. But when you ask them why are they deviating, or why are they worshiping an idol like Jesus, or the Muslims, worship Muhammad, even though they don't think they are, because they think they've missed the obvious trap of the Trinity, or looking at a prophet as God, right? But Satan is much more clever than that. Satan realizes that, so he's going to get the Mohammedans and traditional Muslims or modern day Muslims to worship Muhammad in a different way. And they think a lot of them, they poke fun at other religions or the Christians for worshiping Jesus, yet they're the even bigger fools, because they're worshiping Muhammad. So it's if people would just take a step back to examine themselves and their religion, maybe they could be helped. But this is very important, because this can even go for submitters. We have to remember that when we look at the stuff around us, and we have to ask, who our God is. Who is your God? Like, who is your God today? Who was your God yesterday or last weekend or something? This is a good question for us to just ask. And the way we can make God our God is through, like before we eat something, or before we drink, a nice cup of coffee or tea for that matter, we can say Bismillah. And even while we're drinking it, we can appreciate the flavor. When we're walking, we can just think about our legs, how our legs are working good. When we start our car, when we talk to somebody or something, just so many ways. And this is all doing all this stuff too. It actually adds to your happiness, because instead of like worrying about, something like what most people worry about throughout the day, or what's the common worries and anxieties of like most people, you're not even going to be concerned with that. You're just going to be focused on your Creator, and so this helps us with our happiness. And then, as I read earlier, verse 62, God is the only one, and it kind of ties in, and like making God our God, because we realize He's the only one who can provide for us. So, even though we get like a paycheck or something, or a direct deposit, or even if you work for cash or something, whatever your case could be, whether you're handed money or your money comes from a company or something, it's not that company that's doing anything. They're just like medium or outlet for what God is doing, because God is the one who controls these people. He controls the hearts and the minds of the people who happen to run these companies. So, I mean, everything's in his control. So he controls how many dollars we make. We understand this and we know this, and we have to continue to remind ourselves of this, because then, if myself or anybody for that matter wants to object about something, remembering this stuff will help us keep the right thoughts in our mind. And so, whether our provisions increase or decrease or stay the same, or is withheld, God is the one in control, and it says God is fully aware of all things. So God can be aware of something that could be very good for us. So a certain situation may need to happen that we may not understand or see. Stuff like that has happened to me before. But looking in retrospect, who knows better than God? Because if you could, pick somebody to make, all your decisions for you and take care of your affairs, why wouldn't you want it to be God? You would naturally should want it to be God and not yourself, because we only have the scope of maybe like a molecule or atom's weight of everything going on around us, while God sees everything. So naturally, we would want to choose. God is because he has a scope on all things, so he knows best. And as long as we're worshiping him, alone and making him our God, just we can do it one day at a time. That's what I tell myself. Just take one day at a time. Today, God is going to be your God, and and then tomorrow, and then you could have a better day tomorrow too, if you want. 63. If you ask them, who sends down from the sky water to revive dead land, they will say God. Say praise God. Most of them do not understand. So this is kind of tying into the verse earlier. And it reminds me, I didn't send this person these verses, but there was this, not so much a friend of mine, but just somebody I know. And, she's from a Christian background, and she had made a post or something saying about pretty much glorifying Christ. And then went as far as to say, like, the creation was like thanking a capital C, Christ creation, something like that. And it was like really ridiculous, because it's like, if you take these people aside, or in private or in public, I guess, she thinks that Christ is God in the flesh, and then there's other factions of Christianity that think it's divisible. They even argue amongst themselves about, like, okay, the Trinity means this, but if you really think about it, it's like, Jesus isn't here, he's not here, and they'll agree with that too. And it's like, okay, so who's providing for the birds and the trees and stuff? So it's like this verse comes, for me, it's like getting to witness this stuff from exactly. This verse comes to life in a sense, because I see this stuff go on, and then I ask them, and then they'll agree and say, well, no, God, the Creator, like God the Father or something, or the one who created Jesus. But then they go back and they say, have these posts or hashtags say thanking Jesus always. And I was very politely informed this person, to maybe take a look at these verses, and as well as I explained the mathematical miracle which confirms all this stuff. And you don't hear back from this person, because it's and I think when it comes down to it, it's just it's social pressure, it's ego, and it's other things. So but as the verse says, most of them do not understand. So I think if they could see the gravity of the situation, they would. If they could see the gravity of the situation, they would take it really seriously. Which hence, kind of brings me to the next verse 64, about rearranging our priorities. So, subtitled, Rearrange Your Priorities. This worldly life is no more than vanity and play, while the abode of the hereafter is the real life, if they only knew. So this is a very powerful verse in the sense that, it's the messenger of the covenant gave a sermon. He gave a sermon on this recently, and about putting our priorities in the right place. So this means, like for the dawn prayers, there's a big one, or any one of your contact prayers. So before you're gonna do something, or if you're you're gonna make sure you're gonna prioritize your prayers. Not just your prayers, your contact prayers, because anybody could pray, which is good, but this is your contact prayers establishes contact with God, and they're mathematically coded and all that too. So they're, and it's the main meal for our soul. So, and I mean it's the eternal meal too. So if you think about it like that, like most humans are so quick to make sure they're eating and they're fed and stuff, and then there's like other people in sports that literally plan their entire day around just eating these certain meals and meal prepping, and they devote so many hours and stuff and so much time to just these meals for their physical body. Yet they fail to many of them. I mean, God willing, we could change and get enlightenment, but a lot of them they fail to nourish their real self, the soul, and which is going to be for the real life. So and if you don't end up doing this, it's really it's a terrible loss. Like each prayer, you miss. Like if you go throughout most of your life or your whole life without ever praying, you're gonna get to the day of judgment, and we know what's gonna happen. So, this is a good verse to that I remind myself. If it helps to remember that put things in perspective as to why we're here. So if something seems to be getting a grip on you, which I mean it kind of shouldn't as a submitter, but I mean of course Satan's always going to be at our side, like in the sense where he's going to be trying to get us to worry about money or a job or common things or people or like a spouse, whether you have one or you don't have one, or something, or your children, and losing sleep over it or something. This is just it's for me personally, really puts things in perspective, and there's a lot of verses in the Quran that talk about this. That it's no more than vanity and play, and it's just a temporary. We're here for just such a short time, and it's so temporary. So the hereafter is what we should, really, tough it out and work hard and help each other, remind each other. That's the real life to be working towards, and it's really gonna pay off, because we've been blessed with such a huge blessing to get the truth, because so many people, the vast majority of people, I mean, at the moment, don't have the correct message or the information or blueprint about the truth and true religion and God alone. Because pretty much every religion as it's practiced today, mainstream, has some type of idol attached to it, or it's some type of human idol, right? So 65, when they ride on the ship, they implore God, devoting their prayers to Him. But as soon as He saves them to the shore, they revert to idolatry. Let them disbelieve in what we have given them, and let them enjoy it temporarily. They will surely find out. So yeah, this is like a common thing seen among people. How people, Um, when people are in bad situations, you know, like when a disbeliever or idol worshiper or something is in a sticky situation, they call out to God, you know, or something, you know, they could be close to dying or something, or whatever it is, and then God will save them. He literally answers their prayer, and then as soon as they're all safe and sound, it's like it's so sad. They revert to their idolatry. You know, they completely forget God. They go back into disbelieving. So, and as we're told, you know, they're just enjoying temporarily. You know, so they're gonna find out. And I mean, it's the same sense. It's like, why would you? I mean, if you had a person or something, or I mean, your mother or something that you know, asks for your help, you know, and she's super nice to you, or I mean, your spouse or whoever, or your friend or something, and they're super nice to you, and they're calling out to you for help, and you're helping them, and then suddenly after they get what they want from you, they completely, like, you know, throw you off the bus, and they don't care about you. I mean, how would that make you feel? You know, so I mean, it's the same thing. It's such an insult in a way. So it's you know, I mean, obviously there's going to be retribution for these people, rightfully so, because that's just not that's just not good conduct. You know, among other things. You know, it's just not. This is disbelief too. So 67. Have they not seen that we have established a sacred sanctuary that we made secure? While all around them the people are in constant danger, would they still believe in falsehood and reject God's blessings? So I'm not. Maybe we could talk about this, the sacred sanctuary. I don't know if that's like maybe the one of the mosques in Mecca or something. I'm not sure, but either way, you know, we could talk about that after. You know, but would they still believe in falsehood and reject God's blessing? You know, so you know, God's blessings are all around us, and it's our naturally we should want to you know, disbelieve in falsehood for our own good, and be thankful to God. Who is more evil than one who fabricates lies and attributes them to God, or rejects the truth when it comes to him? Is hell not a just retribution for the disbelievers? As for those who strive in our cause, we will surely guide them in our paths. Most assuredly, God is with the pious. So we can see the clear distinction between these two, you know, types of people. We got, it's like the Quran says, is good, is the bad is not the same as the good. I mean, for those, you know, and it says, you know, shall we treat the righteous as we treat the wicked, you know? So we have one side of the coin that, you know, really these are the most evil people, because it's asking a rhetorical question: well, who is more evil? Because not only does this person deceive themselves, but it's such a heinous lie. Like, I mean, imagine if somebody lies about your wife or something. I mean, you'd want to, I don't know what you'd want to do to that person, but like, you definitely would not be cool in the slightest way. Or someone lies about like your mother or your dad or something, you know. And here we have somebody lying about God, their creator, and attributes lies to them. And they're also, it's so bad because they're also causing, you know, they're spreading falsehood, and they're causing other people. It's a medium for other people to be deceived, you know. So people could see these lies, you know, from whatever religion or dogma or doctrine or teaching, and then they're going to adopt it, and so it's just it's like it hits so many points with just this one thing. So many bad things comes from it, and it just shows the arrogance, you know, in these people, you know, versus the people who strive in God's cause, and you know, stay steadfast, and it says God is with the pious. So this is the side, you know, that's going to be saved, not these people, you know. So and God is most wise. So people who do this stuff, and if we try to help them or correct them, and let's say they don't want to be helped or corrected, then obviously they probably deserve some type of judgment. God knows that, so God's going to see to it that it plays out that way. Surah 30, the Romans, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. ALM, certainly the Romans will be defeated in the nearest land. After their defeat, they will rise again and win. So verse 1 is a footnote. See Appendix 1 for the detailed explanation of these previously mysterious initials. So yeah, these initials are part of the mathematical code, and all the A's, the L's, and the M's in this surah, among so many other facets of how it ties in many different ways. They're all multiples of 19, and it's no human could have even kept track of such a thing. The A's, the L's, and the M's, and then known out of all the 29 surahs that these prefixed initials are in, to keep track of it, and also to keep track of how many times God is mentioned, which we can see the count up to right now to this is 1,913. It's just beyond it's beyond for any human to do. And another thing, it's like why would Muhammad even want to do that? Something else people could ask themselves, or for someone that is trying to understand the miracle too, that is no human would be able to implement this code, and nor would they, especially because they wouldn't get any credit for the code. If they were to try to do it or pull it off, which they couldn't, if it happened and they were quiet about it, there's these, it's what was the point, there's no reason, because they didn't, but we know that's neither of those is the case. It's impossible. It's something divine in nature, and even with computers and stuff, and at the time of the messenger, and they were educated people, some with doctorate or multiple doctorate degrees and stuff, and they had computers at their side to keep track of them, and they were just counting. Literally they were just counting. They weren't even having to come up with the amazing way the Quran is put together and composed, and they're just counting this stuff, and they're making all types of mistakes, and that's with computers, that's with multiple people helping them, and so there's no way, and this is in the age of the information age too, versus the age of ignorance, or the age of ignorance, which was at Muhammad's time. So God makes it real easy for us to believe. So for those who disbelieve in such a miracle, it's they're definitely gonna face punishment, because there's no reason for anybody after seeing this stuff to disbelieve. So verse 4, within several years, such is God's decision, both in the first prophecy and the second, on that day the believers shall rejoice in God's victory. He grants victory to whomever he wills, and he is the Almighty, the most merciful. So we can see the Romans at different points, they were probably one of the most prominent and long-standing. I think their reign lasted for close to 1,000 years, and the Romans were about 400 to 500 years, but I think during the Byzantine period and stuff, that it still was a faction of Roman ruling and stuff, but whatever time period this is talking about, I'm not sure, but we can see that God grants victory to whoever he wills, and ultimately the ultimate victory is going to be with the believers, those who remain steadfast and work hard to redeem their souls. Preoccupation with the wrong life, such is God's promise, and God never breaks his promise, but most people do not know. They care only about things of this world that are visible to them, while being totally oblivious to the hereafter. So yeah, we see this with a lot. I see this with a lot of people too, and you have even people singing, proclaiming that they're not going to believe in anything unless they can see it. You know, and like for these same people, I told them, I said, well, you can see the effects of gravity. You know, when you drop something, it breaks, or you can see the physics. You can see the effects of electricity through many devices or stuff. You can see the effects, or you can feel the wind, but you can't see it. You know, you can't see gravity, you can't see the wind and stuff. Yet they believe in this stuff. So they're not going to have any excuse on the day of judgment sorry, that was my chair moving. They're not going to have any excuse on the day of judgment that they're for the fact that they disbelieved in God. Because God helps them in that decision, because in their hearts you can see that they care only about things of this world. That are so they care about money, the temporary satisfactions, and we can see that it's these types of people are they don't have that fulfillment, because they're totally oblivious to the next life. They're neglecting the soul. So this is why this is really important to as we saw earlier, to having the right perspective and the right priorities. Why do they not reflect on themselves? God did not create the heavens and the earth and everything between them except for a specific purpose and for a specific lifespan. However, most people, with regard to meeting the Lord, are disbelievers. So, there's so many things to reflect on in this life, and this verse also points out to people who, this points out to people in, most other religions who claim to believe in God and stuff, but they're, if you ask them about the next life, they're just kind of like wishy-washy in their understanding or even belief. They don't really know. They don't really believe. Like, they're just kind of. It's just convoluted for them. And I've noticed. I'm saying this because I've seen this. Like, I've talked to people and they tell me these things, and then also, even if they don't tell me, for the people that haven't, you can kind of pick up on it. And then, especially, for those for us who've come from like previous any like mainstream or false religions, we could have been in the same situation where we're just kind of going with the flow, and we don't really know what's going on. We don't know God as He truly is, because we didn't have the scripture or the Quran, and we didn't. We don't have all of His names and stuff. Like if you came from Judaism or something, or Buddhism, or Christianity or something, so you can really appreciate all the wisdom in the Quran. Have they not roamed the earth and noted the consequences for those who preceded them? They used to be more powerful, more prosperous, and more productive on earth. Their messengers went to them with clear signs. Consequently, God was not the one who wronged them. They're the one who wronged their own souls. The consequences for those who committed evil had to be evil. That is because they rejected God's revelations and ridiculed them. Idol worshippers disown their idols. God is the one who initiates the creation and repeats it. Ultimately, you will be returned to Him. So, I'm going to kind of speed things up. I'm not sure how I'm doing on time, but, as we saw in the verse on the first page, the consequences for those who committed evil has to be evil, So it's, just like I was saying earlier, like, people, will agree to that in this life. Like, okay, if you do something bad, you're going to get something bad, or a slap on the wrist or something. But when it comes to the next life, you talk about idolatry, the evils of idolatry, which is really the mother of all evil, because it leads to all types of other evil and vices. But they don't think the consequences they don't believe in consequences for that, at least not in the hereafter. And we can see what's going to happen to these people. They're going to disown their idols, and ultimately, God is the one who we're all going to be returned to. So there's no use in I mean, your idols doesn't just have to be Muhammad or Jesus or anything. Your idols could be a person on this world, or if you think some politician is going to save you or save the country. And it's just another thing that is interesting to see, because it's like people put so much trust in these people, and like really, it's the hereafter that they should be focused with. So even if this person could do something, could affect something for, let's say, the country or something, but that even if that was the case, right? I mean, who cares? Like really, like it's because this country's not going to be here in 200 years. We know the end, when the end of the world is. We know that this life is temporary. So I mean, even if this person could fix or do this and that for whatever country or this and that, it doesn't even matter really in the big scheme of things, because this is just temporary. That person cannot save you on the day of judgment. So it's like, why are people so devoted to these politicians or these idols that they think they can somehow save them? And we can see where their heart lies too, because it's like they're putting so much effort and energy into worshiping. Like I literally saw something the other day. They're calling some people their Lord and Savior, and it's like it just shows you, as we read in the verse earlier. I'm not going to go back, but the verse on the previous page, how their hearts are strictly for this world. They only care about the materials of this world, because why else would they be so gung ho about saving this life? Because that's really all they think that there is, really deep down. And as we know from the Quran is telling this and confirming this for us. So it's just something to think about. Their idols will have no power. On the day when the hour comes to pass, the guilty will be shocked. Their idols will have no power to intercede on their behalf. On the contrary, they will disown their idols. On the day when the hour comes to pass, they will part company. So yeah, this is going to be a shocker. I know like Surah 101 called the shocker. I mean, just the day of judgment. Maybe that's what that surah seems like it's referring to. It's the shocker, because I mean everything about that day is going to be shocking. Okay, I'm past 40 minutes. All right, so I'll read through these verses and we can discuss them after. So on the day when the hour comes to pass, they will part company. As for those who believe and lead a righteous life, they will be in paradise rejoicing. As for those who disbelieve and reject the revelations in the meeting of the hereafter, they will last in the retribution forever. Verse 17, remember God always. Therefore, you shall glorify God when you retire at night and when you rise in the morning. All praise is due to Him in the heavens and the earth, throughout the evening as well as in the middle of the day. And this is making God our God. That's making God our God. He produces the live from the dead, and produces the dead from the live. And He revives the land after it had died. You are similarly resurrected. Marriage, a divine institution. Among His proofs is that He created you from dust, then you became reproducing humans. Among His proofs is that He created for you spouses from among yourselves in order to have tranquility and contentment with each other, and He placed in your hearts and love and care towards your spouses. In this there are sufficient proofs for people to think. So yeah, we could talk about these verses after. If there's any comments or questions, please feel free.
MashaAllah, thank you. Good story, MashaAllah.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
So, yeah, I wanted to make a comment actually for people who might be, listening to the study anywhere in the world. Um, that God says this is a commandment from God. The verse we read about immigrating in the cause of God. If you, like mashallah, as John said, if you live in a country, uh, in a place where you're not able to practice your religion freely, right? I mean, the freely part is important because there's people can really just practice their religion anywhere if they just do it in secrecy, right? But they're not able to do it freely. And so the commandment is that, if you live in a place where you're not able to practice your religion freely, you're supposed to immigrate in the cause of God. Of course, if there's, a lot of people that are being persecuted and stuff, if they do proclaim, I mean, they can fight against the oppression, right, against for their religious freedom to worship God freely. But if, they're not, then they are supposed to immigrate because the goal is that you're supposed to be in an environment where you should be able to practice your religion freely. It's not healthy or recommended for any submitter to live in under oppression and secrecy, throughout their life, and be oppressed in that manner. And so, if you're not enough people that you can get up and fight for religious freedom, you should just immigrate. And many people will make up excuses to say that, they're passing the message and doing this and doing that, but really, uh, the commandment is to just immigrate. And of course, it is something that comes with, sacrificing time, sacrificing money. Obviously, God says weak women and children who do not possess the means to immigrate, God understands, right? But those who can, are required to, in these situations. And so just wanted to, highlight that for those who might be listening from other parts of the world where, submission cannot be practiced openly, and you could be tortured or imprisoned or killed for, you know, uh, uh, just being a submitter. And secondly, I think, yeah, mashallah, we also touched on problems, and I just had a comment about we just mentioned marital problems, and how they're so prevalent, and how we have broken homes in this country. I just wanted to say that, I mean, broken homes, like, having, like, let's say, divorce families and all that. Obviously, that happens when you don't get to know a person, and you didn't follow God's laws, right? And you end up in these situations, right? But also, you could, I would say that marital problems are a problem not just here; they're a problem in every country. Like, even in countries where people are husband and wives living together, they're fighting all the time. They're quarreling all the time, and they would have so many problems, with each other. Problems with intimacy, problems with arguing with each other, problems about bickering, and fights about money, cheating, all this kinds of stuff. So that happens, you know, in every society, and in comparison, in situations like that, a divorce has been created by God as an exit, um, but just wanted to mention that these problems exist everywhere, and it's something that is characteristic of not just a place of the world, but a characteristic of people being disbelievers, people being idol worshippers, and people being hypocrites. not following God's commandments. And mashallah, and of course we read about verses about marriage, and how God says that He's placed love and tranquility, love and care in the hearts of the spouses. So that happens. Of course, love is placed in the hearts. If the person is right for you, when you get to know a person as you're, preparing to find out, going through the engagement process, God puts the love in your heart for this person, and vice versa. So that is a sign from God that this person is meant for you, right? And if that doesn't happen, then that person is not meant for you. And of course, that's going to happen knowing the person for a substantial amount of time, knowing their likes and dislikes. So these are one of obviously God's laws, God's commandments. But it is really, really interesting how this phenomena of spouses happens. Like God says, He created everything in pairs, and looking at all these videos every day, like 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 cats and animals, even how they have so much love and care for their spouses. I mean, how would, for example, like the evolutionists explain, like how a rooster will care for its spouse, and look after its eggs and everything. I mean, how would you even like begin to explain something like that from a purely atheist standpoint, right? And these are God's proofs for us that He has, and His blessings that He has created for us, mashallah. The thing is, like when it came to broken homes, like uh, first of all, having sex outside of marriage is one reason why you have like a lot of single parents. And then also, and the fact that it's in the society, it's more acceptable, but in other places, you will not see so much because it's not acceptable. So when they have before they even have children, they either like abort them, or like we know they get rid of them, like um, and also some people will just live in this broken sort of an arrangement because it's not socially acceptable for women to be single or to stay single. And that's why we don't really see it so much in like certain societies, right? But a real submitter um, uh, couple will never have to think about or go through that process, because they will, if they followed God's laws, they will have a perfectly happy and healthy life with no problems.
Right. Yeah, when I said broken homes, I wasn't just referring to this country. I mean, I was referring to anybody like
Hmm.
that breaks God's law and
Hmm.
has sex before marriage,
Hmm.
and I mean, you pay the
Hmm.
consequences for it. Like that
Hmm.
means any country.
Hmm.
I don't think I just said United States.
Right.
I don't know what I said, but I don't think I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I mean, like people,
Hmm. Hmm.
people.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
I
I mean,
understand
like
what you
even
mean. Yeah.
for like people that are close to me or just in
Hmm.
my own life. I mean, you make mistakes, and I mean, God could save you from
Hmm.
these issues, but it's like yeah, it's like that's really what I was talking about. It's like
Hmm. Hmm.
outside of
No,
marriage and
I
stuff.
understand.
You know.
I understand. I just wanted to highlight the part that like typically we when we talk about marital problems, we immediately think about like divorces and stuff, right? But I just wanted to kind of highlight the fact that people could even be living together, but or be married together, but not be sleeping together or having like good relationship. So that is also a serious marital problem, even though it might not be immediately obvious, when we look at that. But these are problems that exist, and couples fighting and bickering and arguing all the time, is also like I mean, I'm talking about having like serious arguments and stuff, like people doing all kinds of things. Very, very common, and all people, especially like the Mohammedans and all these people who you would never think that you would think that have stronger family values, right?
Right. Yeah, I worked for some
Yeah.
Lebanese people, and I had to witness some pretty harsh stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, they were
Oh.
Mohammedans, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they were as bad as like your normal, maybe. But yeah, it was years ago, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you're doing. I guess if you're worshiping or some
Mm-hmm.
idols or something, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
yeah, have issues, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're with somebody or not with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, even now, divorces are even very common. As society progresses, I guess regresses.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
see,
it's
even
more
divorces
common.
now.
It's the percentage
Mm-hmm.
rates. I mean, when I was a kid, I would hear about these percentage rates, and then now it's like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's more common like
Mm-hmm.
than not. Like it used to not be
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like you had more
Mm-hmm.
married people, and then like it was more of a outlier to see a divorce or this and that. But like now
Mm-hmm.
it's I guess it's
The norm.
yeah, it's norm, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like
Mm-hmm.
something else. Like people, kind of like you said, like it's just becoming kind of something acceptable, like in the
Mm-hmm.
society, where
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's like well, just because something's like more common doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
it's like better.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to tell ourselves like
Mm-hmm.
that's not.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot happens behind closed doors in other societies, right? Where it happens commonly in other societies, and you may think it's more prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question about I think the sacred sanctuary, verse 67. Is that like referring to because it's capitalized?
Um.
Is that
Yeah.
referring?
Have you not seen that we have established a sacred sanctuary? Yes, referring to the Kaaba.
Okay, that's what I was
Mm-hmm.
asking about.
MashaAllah. Yeah, and I also wanted to highlight on the Roman Empire. So this was also like one of the amazing things about the Quran, because these verses were revealed around you know um, 617 AD, like from the we know we can use like hadith and sometimes as a historical reference and stuff, and so looking roughly at the timeline, it's around 617 AD, right? And the Roman Byzantine thing, that we were talking about, this was between the Romans and the Persians, where they were defeated, and the victory happened apparently in 622 AD. You know, and so the Muslims were more. I mean, submitters, as it says, the believers will rejoice. So they were happier that it was the Romans rather than the Persians winning, because those Persians were not people of the book, but the Romans were people of the scripture, because so they were happier for that fact.
Most of
But so I would assume they would be more humane and less barbaric.
yeah, most of yeah, it's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
found it like interesting how the Quran would refer to like these parts of history and stuff. You know.
So I really love the subtitle and how these verses talk about remembering God always. I mean, we should remember to remember God always. Sometimes we may not realize that. I mean, it's not necessary for you to have one idol. You could have two idols, and then God would be on your mind. Maybe let's say one third, right? And it still doesn't make God your God.
Yeah, and like the contact prayers, I think we were just talking about, like how there's spaced out throughout the day, at these specific times, and 5 contact prayers a day, not 3 contact prayers a day, like some people
Hmm.
think.
Hmm.
But yeah, it says all praise is due to him in the heavens and earth throughout the evening as well as the middle of your day. So yeah, it helps make make God our God, and um,
Yeah, Masha, that's so important. We also have a song on the album, "Who's Your God."
mm, oh yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet, but yeah, even like that stuff's great because instead of like each time I listen to that stuff when I'm working or this or that, that's you think about God, and it's a form of worship, you know. Because there's even a verse that it talks about the angels singing the praises, and there's actually a verse I can't heard it the other day, where it says, "You shall sing the praises of your Lord." So it's telling us that this stuff is good for us. It helps us, make God our God throughout the day. Yeah, it's a blessing, because I mean, imagine the people that like in the hereafter, they're going to be wishing like all this free time and stuff, or at different times of the day, they wish they wish they could have been thinking about God.
You haven't heard "Who Is Your God"? I sent it to you before also.
Is it in the
You
first
heard it?
album or second?
Not the new one.
I might have. I'm not too good with the names on the first, or I mean on the second
You
one.
said,
I might
I
have
think I
heard.
sent you multiple songs together that day,
No,
before it
yeah,
was
well, I've
released.
heard it, but I haven't like listened to it back
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
consecutively.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, you said, and you actually said good reminder, so I thought maybe you heard it
oh yeah,
when I
that
sent it.
one, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Masha.
yeah. No, yeah, that one's actually a really good one. I remember now.
Yeah, you also commented on a part of the song where it talks about, saying God's name before everything you do, right?
Hmm.
And I
Yeah,
told you, yeah, about that, yeah. So you've heard it, yeah.
yeah, I've heard it, got it, and yeah, once you told me some of the lyrics, but yeah, it's so true. Like even before you open a door or something, or you're returning back
Mm-hmm.
to your place of refuge for the day, like you made it home safely. Let's say from the store, and you say, "Mashallah" or something.
Actually,
Huh?
I'll read it.
Oh,
I'll read it.
okay.
Yeah,
It says,
subhanallah.
it
Go
says,
ahead,
I,
brother.
it says, in the silence of the morning as the dawn breaks through, I wake to find the world anew. With the first light, I utter this vow in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Right? And so, well, the chorus is like, who's your God in your heart, in your mind? Is it the creator of all mankind? Or is it your wealth, your ego, your pride? Who occupies your thoughts day and night? You know? It says, when the sun climbs high and the days begin, I remember God before the rising sun. In every task, in every choice I make, God's name I invoke for His guidance sake. So, this chorus is just saying, "Who is your God when the dawn draws near in solitude? Do you hold Him dear, or do you chase after worldly dreams, forgetting the one who reigns supreme?" Now, here's the test when you wake anew. Do you start your day with the right view in the name of God as your first refrain, setting the tone, leaving the strain, inshallah, for tomorrow's quest, knowing His plans are always the best, mashallah, for blessings near, acknowledging His grace without fear, from dawn till dusk in every way. Let His remembrance guide your day. For the one who made you, the one so true, make him your God in all you do. So it kind of goes through the whole day, like starting with dawn and going all the way to the night, as you're getting up, and then it's talking about as, sun declines, and talking about night eventually when you're going to sleep, you know.
Yeah, subhanallah, brothers. One of the most important commandments in the Quran to remember God. So a lot of verses where it says, like most important thing, remember God. It's one of the most important commandments in the
That's
Quran.
all. Yeah, I mean, that is the key, really, you
Yeah,
know.
subhanallah.
If
Yeah.
we can get that, our soul,
Mhm.
that's all we're here for. If
Right.
you think about it,
Yes, brother.
that's the main thing. Main focus when you wake up is to make God your God. Like
Right.
Mashallah John said, take one day at a time and tell yourself, today I'm gonna worship God, because if you think about it, we were sent on this earth to worship God alone. What does that mean? To make God your God, right?
Right.
And that's why it makes it so difficult, because that's why you have so many distractions. You have work, you have so many other things, food, all these things you have to take care of every day, spouses, children, work, other distractions,
Subhanallah, brother.
we can, yeah, we're tested through these that way, right?
Right. The test.
To
The
worship
test.
God in all circumstances, right?
Right. 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 And the songs are, a blessing as well. They help with that, subhanallah. Because then, any other song you hear is all wickedness and it's all sinful. So,
No,
subhanallah. It's the
you're talking about the money in your bank.
right. So, yeah, brothers. The songs are a blessing, subhanallah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Inshallah, praise be to God.
Praise be to God, brother.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of announce it for people who might be listening, that they can listen to the new album on, under the artist The Submitters, and the name of the album, this new album, is The Astronauts. It's just Astronauts, not The Astronauts. And God willing, they can. And the new album coming out, to the second album, which is the like kind of part two. Inshallah, I think it'll be out maybe tomorrow or day after, probably.
Yeah, brother. Is that there's like a new album? I forget the name, but it just came out. Is that the
Yeah,
second album on YouTube? Was that still the first?
No, that's the second one, but I'm talking about the third
Okay.
one that's coming out too.
Oh, okay.
Because
Subhanallah.
because there were multiple. I had a lot of tracks. I had to, you know, divide them into two because you could only have 35 tracks in one album. So I have 35 tracks in this one, and then 35 in the next one.
Okay.
Mashallah. So yeah, you just got half of it yet. The other
Okay.
half is coming. Yeah, Mashallah.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. So these songs are available in the Submission app. Also, they're also available on our YouTube channel and also available in generally on YouTube Music or Apple Music or Spotify, whatever music service you use. And then if you're making videos like on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook Reels, etc., they're also available, to use as background music on those platforms as well. MashaAllah. All right. So, are there any other comments or questions from anyone? Or any off-topic maybe questions? I just had one comment about verse 19. That Subhanallah, as it says, among his proofs is all these things like obviously he creates you from dust and you became reproducing human, and we already talked about the love and care in the spouses, but also if you think about the mechanism in which God lets these reproduction mechanisms happen, it's so fascinating and mind-blowing if you really think about it, and it just blows my mind because like thinking about all these atheists and stuff obviously who continue to deny these things, right? Because just the whole process of how the cell divisions happen, right? It's amazing like how cells will divide. And then also there's so many other creatures like scientists are now discovering that will just not only will divide and multiply based using the other pair, but then they'll just divide on their own. Like for example, there's this kind of worm. Well, it looks like a worm. It's what is it? It's I forgot. And it was some kind of a worm or something. And what happens is if you divide if you try to half it, let's say you take a knife and you want to kill it, like you divide it in two, and then both of them become individual creatures. It splits into two and both of them become individual creatures. And then they did studies on it, and they took one of these worms and then they split it in like 1,000 pieces, right? And they said they had 1,000 worms come out from that one worm. So this is how we understand God's omnipotence, that God is able to multiply us in so many ways. And thinking about God's power, like why people think that it's impossible for God to bring the humans back, like on the day of judgment, recreate the bodies and then resurrect us. Nothing is impossible for God if we think about these things. And verse 19 talking about how he produces the dead from the live, and how he revives the land after it had died. I mean, there's like seeds that can live, I mean, obviously for hundreds and thousands of years, and they just need water to activate. I mean, how fascinating that is, right? God says he revives all these things, and this is, I mean, God's power. Like all these signs that He shows us, they're there for us to reflect and understand that, who is in full control. God is in full control. He's running everything, and He's making all these things happen. Subhanallah. Yeah, so that kind of reproduction, you know, it's called asexual reproduction, where the offspring is produced by a single parent, and genetically and physically identical to each other, kind of like exactly like cloning in a way. They're clones. They're the clones of their parents, and there's many types of animals um, that have this sort of mechanism. Many types of creatures. So I'm trying to look for the one I talked about. It's a kind of a bacterium, actually. The one I was referring to. Yeah, so there's binary fission, where the parent cell divide into two identicals, right? And there's fragmentation, the one I was talking about earlier. So starfish also is a similar example. Starfish can develop with a single ray or arm, and so that's amazing.
Subhanallah, brother. Yeah, and you could just see how blind people can be. You see these
Hmm.
scientists that are so knowledgeable about these things, and they
Hmm.
still, they still don't believe. They don't even like God's not in their mind, and they have all these proofs and all these amazing things, and it's just it just shows you how blind people can be.
Hmm.
Like SubhanAllah, these things like for us, it's like it gets us closer to God, and we see how God is omnipotent and omniscient, and it's just amazing to us, But you see, all these scientists are so close to these things, so knowledgeable, and they
Hmm.
just, they're just blind.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because the thing is, there is divine intervention happens. When these people become disbelievers and their minds shut off. Then they're
Right,
not
right,
able to see any kind of proofs.
uh,
And they go for these petty examples.
right.
Where they desperately try to prove something. And they're just looking for ways to try to justify. And they look at evolution as a divinely guided process, right? But they use pieces of evolution to explain the entire ecosystem, and it doesn't make sense at all, obviously. um, but it's a They have no clue, subhanallah. But for someone who believes in God, who's looking for God, and who's seeking ways and means to remembering God, I mean, these proofs are everywhere, everywhere. You see, like within us, everywhere, all around us. Wherever you see, you'll find God's proofs. God's existence, His presence. Subhanallah.
Subhanallah, brother.
Mm. I mean, talking about the dead from the living and the living from the dead. I mean, if you look at, for example, of just having eggs. If you think about how God creates the eggs from the chicken, I mean, how the chicken is live, right? And the eggs are non-living, and then how they become living things coming out, and chickens, you see them running around, these cute creatures, little chicks. So how does that happen? How does the egg, decide that it wants to become a chick, and like not a crow or something. Uh, so people need to think about that. And all of them look the same. So, so if there are no other comments or questions, I guess we can conclude the study. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Brother John, for leading the study and for streaming it. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Tuesday, God willing, at 2 p.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. God bless.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. God bless you all.